Hey, treasure and fans, Yo Pal Big D and Cobb here with a second review for the week.
I know.
Yes, this is a rarity for us, but Cobb not only finished the Star Trek 2009, which we reviewed a few days ago, he also finished the original series. Now, I want to preface this first. He didn't watch every episode of the original series because I know there are some episodes that they would have bored him. I know they would have bored him because there's not a whole lot of action to him. It's more just a whole dramatic scene. Look, I love them all, but I knew there were certain episodes he shouldn't watch. So there were certain episodes he did watch. I gave him all the basic ones that are going to help push the story along and help him understand the characters, and I also gave him some ones that are put a lot of what are famous episodes like people really know, kind of like Tribble with Tribbles, Shore Leave, Spacey, the Doomsday Machine, the big ones. The ones that everybody talks about, the ones that everybody loves. He watched a few other small ones too, like Savage Curtain, The Ultimate Computer, The Naked Now. Naked Time, sorry. Naked Now is the Next Generation episode. So, but I wanted to just sit down for a minute, have us do a little bit of review of it, let him speak his thoughts on what he thought of it. I mean, we've never done a TV series before. No, we did Next Generation, didn't we? But for him, this was a big experience. This is Next Generation looks a lot more modern than the original series. The original series obviously had a lot more cardboard cutouts and a lot more things because technology just wasn't there it is now. So obviously it felt a little bit different. It was done a little bit differently because you got to remember too, Next Generation, a lot of it was done with Gene Roddenberry, but towards the end it wasn't because his health was starting to fail and he was having a hard time getting there all the time. The original series, he was there every single day. He was there beginning to end every single day. So there's a lot more of his footprint on the original series than there is on Next Generation. But so what are your thoughts, though? I mean, this is an older series, came out in 1966, so this is way before before both of us were born, obviously. So, it's very much a time capsule of what things were going on in the time in this country and around the world. A lot of the issues that the original series dealt with was current stuff. They've said before, I've seen so many documentaries where they talked about the fact that TV back in the 60s there was a lot of censoring going on, and there was certain subjects they just didn't want you to talk about. So the way Gene Roddenberry flipped it was, okay, I can't talk about these things, they're way too sensitive, but if I put it in a science fiction setting and change up things a little bit, I can still address those issues. And, I mean, he even addressed the issues of the whole 60s movement, of the hippie movement. You didn't see that episode, it's called This Way to Eden, where they go, stepping out to Eden, yeah, brother. It's a very, it really is a very 60s episode, but a lot of the episodes, there's the, I didn't let you watch this one either, but the, Let's Be a Last Battlefield, where you had two guys. One guy was black on one side and white on the other side, and then vice versa for the other guy. He was white on this side and black on this side. And they'd fight all the time, but it was like what he was trying to do is show race relations, how like African Americans, white people, Asian, stuff like that were all the same. The only difference is our skin color might be a bit different, but we're all the same. We all bleed red. We all have hearts. And so those episodes, he would address those things in those episodes, but do it in a science fiction way, so it'd get past the censors because they wouldn't really pay attention to it. They just, it's a sci-fi show, whatever. So he's able to get these things through. That's why one of the reasons why the original series was really groundbreaking, and it really did deal with the problems of today. And what's scary is you watch some of those episodes, and we're still dealing with it. We're still having some of those problems nowadays, and this is 50 years ago. But it just, the original series has such a character to it. Every person that's on that show, especially Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, who are mostly featured are featured pretty much every episode. It's really their relationship plus a few other people that kind of inserted in, like Scotty, Chekhov, Sulu, Uhura. I mean, we didn't even get Chekhov till the season 2.
I know.
And the reason why we got Chekhov was because they wanted to cater more towards the younger audience, and the big group at the time was the Monkees. So they put him in to be like Davy Jones from the Monkees. But it still, I think today, I watch this, but I watch an episode every day. There's no joke. I watch at least one episode every day.
Yeah. Did you watch one last night?
I watched 2 last night. I watched ask your aunt next time. I watch an episode every day. It's kind of my, towards the end of the day, just before dinner, I watch an episode really quick to kind of de-stress myself and kind of let the day go so I can just have dinner and relax and the rest of the day. But
can I ask you a question?
Sure, yeah.
What's your favorite original series episode? Like
my favorite original series episode, oddly enough, is the Doomsday Machine. Followed closely by City on the Edge of Forever. I do love that one. Shore Leave is another one I love a lot. Space Seed's another one because you get the first introduction to Khan.
Yeah.
But Doomsday Machine, I remember being a kid and the first time seeing that on TV and seeing that big, and seeing the other ship be damaged, and Kirk gets it back with Scotty to get it to Mary up, and they're fighting. And I remember being a kid, just being like on the edge of my seat, didn't know what was going to happen. You know, that ending scene where they're trying to beam Kirk up as the other ship's going into the machine, and you're like, and you're like worried he's not going to be able to do it. You know, because back then I didn't know. You know, when I was a kid, I thought, oh man, they're going to kill off Kirk, because Kirk was my favorite character. He was always my favorite character.
Yeah.
Followed closely by Spock and McCoy. Actually, I can't. Kirk is my favorite, but honestly, every character on this show I loved. I love McCoy. I love Uhura. I love, Chekhov and Sulu. They just love that whole crew, but Kirk was my favorite.
My favorite is probably Scotty.
So Scotty, I can understand it. Scotty's awesome. I love Scotty. And you mentioned it too. After you watched the original series, he did watch Star Trek The Motion Picture. The first question he had for me was, when did Scotty grow a beard?
Yeah.
Because he was like, wait a minute, when did Scotty grow a beard? Because that's the same thing I saw. I remember Star Trek The Motion Picture came out in 1979, and I was 8 years old at the time. And I remember my mom taking me to the theater to go see it, and we sat down, and Scotty came on, and I remember thinking, and they called him Scotty, and to me, he didn't look like Scotty for a second. I had to really look at it for a second and go, wait a minute, where's the black hair? Where's the shaved face? What's going on, I remember that just thinking, what is going on here? This doesn't make any sense.
So weird. But then he gained a lot of weight in the other movies.
Yeah, well, and even when McCoy beamed aboard, he had the full-on beard going and stuff like that. You're just like, man, they let themselves go.
I know.
But Kirk was always my favorite.
Yeah. He
always was. I think because it's the swashbuckling nature of the character, the kind of just charge in where angels fear to tread, and kind of go in there and just...
I was telling Dad, I like Kirk because he always wants to go action. Picard's all, when a ship comes, like, okay, let's hail them before we shoot at them, and then Kirk's like, let's kick their butt.
Let's just shoot them now. We'll talk to them later. Don't even worry about it. Yep. Very much so. Picard's more the diplomat. Kirk's more the actioneer. More the guy that's okay, let's just go in. We'll figure this out later. Let's go in. That's why I always needed Spock, because Spock was the other side of him and said, whoa, hold on a second. Let's stay back for a second. And that's why they work so well. And then McCoy was always the one in the middle. Sometimes he'd side with Kirk, sometimes he'd side with Spock, but he was always the voice in the middle.
Yeah.
But every episode, Shore Leave, some of the genius of those episodes, a planet that literally, you think of something and it comes true, you know? I love that episode so much. He gets to beat up Finnegan,
Finnegan.
And
the bunny.
Exactly, the bunny. I'm late. I can't wait. Oh my gosh, I'm late, But just, then you look at other episodes that are just like spacey. Talk about a villain. And he hasn't seen The Wrath of Khan yet. He did see Beyond. So he saw Khan, the newer version of Khan.
That's Darkness.
Darkness. So he saw Darkness. So he saw the newer version of Khan, but he hasn't seen Ricardo Montalban come back as Khan in that movie. That ripped Ricardo. He got the big chest going. He's like, from hell's heart I stab a thee. He hasn't seen that yet. We actually plan on doing a marathon over Thanksgiving holiday weekend. We're gonna sit down. Yeah, we're gonna sit down and watch them all. In a row so he can see them all. So they're like, because now that he's seen the original series, he's seen Next Generation. Now he can see both and be able to understand a lot of what's going on in a lot of those movies.
But to pass the time, I'm watching all the other series like Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and Enterprise. So.
Yeah, he just started Deep Space Nine the other day, so he's now working on that. We sit down and come with the list. Oh, your Deep Space Nine list's huge too.
I know.
That Deep Space Nine is the series my wife loves the most. She also loves Voyager a lot too, but Deep Space Nine, because we were married and we had our party on the promenade of Deep Space Nine, she loves Deep Space Nine so much. That's her favorite show. So we've actually watched that whole series a couple times because of that. But with the original series, the original series kicked it all off. There's nothing behind it. There's no Next Gen. There's no Deep Space. There's none of that stuff without the original series.
Yeah.
It only lasted 3 seasons.
But they weren't going to do the 3rd season.
No, they weren't going to do the 3rd season. You're right. After the 2nd season, they were going to cancel it, and a letter writing campaign by fans got them to do one more season.
Yeah.
And most Star Trek fans know this too. Star Trek was saved by Lucille Ball. Lucy, back in the day, they had done a pilot called The Cage with Jeffrey Hunter as Captain Pike. That episode, they didn't want to air it. They were like, no, we're done with it. Lucille Ball watched the episode, saw something in it, and because she was a big wig at Paramount at the time, she convinced them and went ahead and greenlit another pilot, which doesn't ever happen to TV. You get one pilot, either it goes or it doesn't, and you move on to something else. So they got another pilot. They changed a few things up, changed a few characters. Realistically, the only character they actually kept was Leonard Nimoy as Spock. They did keep Major Barrett, who was number 1 in the cage. They just made her into Nurse Chapel. Otherwise, everybody else was new. They brought in William Shatner. They brought in the rest of the crew. And they went from there. But it's really an amazing story to hear about this show. This little show that was on. It got bumped around TV stations all the time, but it still kept going. And then when it did end, that's when the fandom really picked up, because it went into syndication, which again is another weird thing, because syndication rules are usually you have to have a minimum of 5 seasons of a show to be able to put it into syndication. There were only 3 seasons of the show, but they went ahead and syndicated it anyways, and that's when the popularity really went off. And that's when I first discovered it, when it went to syndication. I was born in 71, so 74, 75, I discovered it, and that's really when it boomed out. That's when the conventions all started, and then that's when... Then, thanks to Star Wars coming out in 77, that's when Paramount went. They were going to do another TV series. They did an animated series after the original series, and they only lasted 1 season, and then it just.
No, it lasted 2, 3, no 2.
The animated series?
Yeah.
No, it was only 1 season.
Well, not on CBS.
Maybe they cut it weird on the thing, but it actually was just 1 season. They cut it, so maybe they split it in 2, but it was originally just 1 season. That didn't do that well. But then when Star Wars, what Paramount went, what are we going to do? And then they made the motion picture. Now, the motion picture did make its money back, but it wasn't as big as everybody wanted it to be. Of course, they did Star Trek 2, and that blew up. And then, But this is really the groundwork for everything. Just the stories and just the fun and insanity of it, Arena, another one of my favorite episodes with the Gorn.
Yeah, the Gorn.
There's only 2 episodes in all of Star Trek with Gorns. But that was the first episode, and with him, and man, I love that episode. It's just there's so many cool things about it. There's so much fun within it, and for me, it's always been a great escapism. I've always and I think as a kid, what I liked so much about it was the fact that there was always a beginning and an end.
Yeah.
A lot of TV shows nowadays, there's these stories that go on the whole season. Like we're watching. Oh gosh, what's that one show right now we're watching? It's on HBO Max. I can't remember the name of it. It's like Cthulhu. But that darn show, we've had like 8 episodes now. They haven't answered any questions, and it's still going on. There's no ending yet. What I liked about the original series was every episode had an ending. At the end, stuff would start out, things would get really bad, and by the end, Kirk and crew kicked everybody's butt.
But I kind of like there being a story to the next episode.
I do too, but sometimes I like just the one and dones too, where you get the episode, you go on, because Next Generation did a lot of one and dones too, but a lot of times they would refer back to that one episode later on. They would say something about it, or
Yeah.
So, but yeah, just I love the series more than anything. It really is my baby. Someday I'll do my bedroom tour, and you can see all the Star Trek stuff I have. It's kind of ridiculous, but yeah. That's my take on the original series.
Mm-hmm. Well, I watch his videos. I can see a ton of Star Trek stuff on his back. I was all, dang, man. You got the plush up there, the Enterprise hanging up on the wall. Like...
Yeah. I'm lucky that I have a wife that really puts up with me. I really am. Thanks, sweetheart. Is there anything else you want to say about the original series?
Not really. I mean, when did they start making, like, toys about the original series?
So toys didn't start coming out until they made a few small little things, but it was nothing
like big.
It was nothing decent. It was a lot of knockoff stuff. It was really weird. It wasn't until Mego got a hold of the license in the 70s we actually started getting out stuff that looked and felt like something out of Star Trek. A lot of the early toys for Star Trek was just like they would take a random like truck and just pass a Star Trek on it. And you're like, that's not even in the show. It was really weird. They made these weird parachute characters. They did a lot of really weird stuff back in the day. They just couldn't get licensing for it until Mego came out. The Mego put out a lot of their action figure dolls. I got them all. But those came out and they were really popular, really, really popular. They put out a bridge playset. They were really popular. And then after a couple years, those died down. Then the motion picture came out. Those figures didn't do very well. And then it kind of just took off from there. And then it's never been as big as Star Wars when it comes to the action figure line, the toy line. It's always been quite a bit smaller. So You know, they
Yeah.
tried this with the 3 3/4 figures like Star Wars has, but they just didn't do anything. Oh, they weren't made very well either, though, to be honest with you. They didn't look very well. I don't know. The Mego figures, though, those looked really good.
Yeah.
They look like the characters. It was always really amazing as a kid. I had those Mego figures, and it looked like Spock. It looked like Kirk. It looked like McCoy.
Yeah.
My only complaint was the Mego figures, they never did a Chekhov and a Sulu. So I could never have the full crew. They did everybody but Chekhov and Sulu.
Dang.
Yeah, so that always bothered me out, but whatever. They did them now. They did them later on. A few years ago, they put them out.
One more thing I want to add.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it weird how they put out like the new Star Trek movie with like Chris Pine and stuff? Isn't it weird how Chekhov's hair was in black, but he was in the original series?
Yeah, well, it's dark brown in the
Well,
original
like,
series. Yeah,
his hair was like blonde and orange. So,
well, again, they had to change things up a little bit. I don't think you know this, but the cool thing about the remake Star Trek movie, they actually brought in the original series cast of people that were still alive, and the people that played those characters got to talk and sit down and talk to the people that originally played those characters. So they got to know them a little bit, and they got to see, they got to learn about the characters and how they portrayed them and what they did with them over the years. So that was really nice. There was actually a documentary that came out about that. The only one, obviously, DeForest Kelly and Jimmy Doohan weren't there. That's Scotty and McCoy. They both had passed away by the time they had done this. But yeah. Anything else you want to say?
no.
All right, then. That's it. That's probably one of our longest videos.
I know. Dang, 16 minutes.
Right? So, all right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate it. Like, subscribe, the bell. Leave some comments down below. Your thoughts on Star Trek. Let us know what you think about it. We both want to thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate it. Please take care out there. Always keep hunting because you're never going to find. And as always, live long and prosper. Bye.